Well, we can go live to Kenosha now to speak to our reporter, Andy Roschen. Andy, so a very different visit from Joe Biden than we'd seen earlier in the week when President Trump arrived. How was Joe Biden received? Because he very much tried to paint a different picture, didn't he?
He did, and boy, his supporters certainly loved the contrast that he drew between his visit and President Trump's. You saw there that Biden talked with Jacob Blake's family. Well, President Trump didn't even say Jacob Blake's name when he was here a couple days ago. Also, Joe Biden supports charges against that police officer who shot Jacob Blake, and of course, President Trump does not. But how interesting it was, Rosie, outside the church where Biden was speaking. Jacob Blake's uncle was among those protesters, those Black Lives Matter demonstrators who demonstrated noisily again outside the church today where he was speaking. And I asked one of them, are these demonstrations accomplishing anything?
Actually hoping that, once all of this is over and done, that the Black folks' voices are actually heard for the first time, because we've been silent for so long and allowing it to go on. And I'm just hoping that everybody continues to speak up,
And your thoughts on Joe Biden's visit in particular?
I just feel like politics are very, very tricky. And I feel like at this point they're doing whatever they can to win the votes of the Black community.
To what extent, Andy, have these protests distracted the sort of campaigning agenda away from President Trump's handling of the coronavirus pandemic? He's really pushing this law and order message. Is it working? Is it resonating?
Well, polls suggest, Rosie, that it is having a bit of dent in Joe Biden's support around the country in some pockets. That's why, in fact, the Trump campaign rolled out just this week here in Wisconsin these new television campaign ads that have video of the Kenosha riots and suggesting that Joe Biden really doesn't care about them. That's why he hammered again today, firing back, saying that while he does support peaceful protests, he decries the violence and says anyone involved in that should be held accountable. Rosie?
There's been another example, Andy, of police brutality and racism against a black man coming out of Rochester. Just explain to us what's happened there and what the response has been.
That was a Chicago man, actually, Rosie, back in March, who was confronted by police. He was naked on the ground, apparently having some sort of psychotic episode there. Police threw a bag over his head that's used to prevent suspects from spitting on them. Well, he died after that. The family of him just got that video released this week, and there's been outrage in Rochester. Those 7 officers involved in that arrest and the death have now been suspended. And people in the streets of Rochester are lying in the streets where he died there with that bag over his head in protest. That could be another hot point, another hot spot in these ongoing nationwide demonstrations. Rosie?
Andy Roschen in Kenosha, thank you very much.